of the importance of reaching out to the most affected countries. We are ready to hear from them about their needs and concerns and ensure that whatever international action is taken is consistent with their requests. We also think that food security issues are best addressed at the regional level. Countries of the Mediterranean region are bound by geography, history, and a common food culture, the Mediterranean diet, which is recognized by UNESCO as intangible world heritage. For this reason, we have convened this meeting. We look forward to discussing with you concrete responses to mitigate the rising levels of food insecurity in the Mediterranean region and in the longer term to make food systems more sustainable and resilient. In 2021, under the Italian presidency, the G20 adopted the Matera Declaration, the first call to action on this issue for the entire international community. The declaration states that food security and sustainable food systems are key to ending hunger, reducing socio-economic inequalities between and within countries, and promoting inclusive economic growth and sustainable development. FAO also launched the Food Coalition, closely linked to the principles of the Matera Declaration, supported by Italy and other international donors. The Food Coalition stands as a platform we can use to implement any collaborative project originating from this dialogue. We aim today at a pragmatic and action-oriented dialogue. We intended to share with you, by the end of June, a technical follow-up document prepared with the FAO in consultation with the co-chairs and international organizations wishing to take part in this effort. Based on the dialogue's results, the document will identify the areas of collaboration and outline concrete actions. Italy intends to convene a second edition of the dialogue in December during the 2022 Med Dialogues Conference in Rome to take stock of the regional collaboration on the key areas identified. Now, I would like to focus on the 4 areas of discussion of this meeting, summarized in the discussion document based on FAO analysis and circulated in preparation of the dialogue. The first area is the FAO proposal of a Mediterranean food import financing facility aimed at limiting the financial impact of import costs of food on the most vulnerable countries. We will hear more about this shortly from Director General Chu. Second, reducing food loss and waste. This is a very serious problem involving from 16 to 20% of food production and tens of millions of tons of food each year in the Mediterranean region. Italy hosts important study centers and can significantly contribute to the development and implementation of national strategies for reducing agricultural losses and waste. Third, promoting a better use of fertilizers. The conflict has strongly affected the availability of these products. The challenge for countries dependent on their import is twofold. Ensure a more efficient use of available fertilizers and improve fertilizers' use efficiency and production through technology and research. Fourth, boosting research and innovation. Innovation across the food system chain will increase resilience and help tackle climate change and biodiversity loss. More can be done in this field by optimizing the use of water, soil, energy, and fertilizers, and by developing advanced technologies. To conclude, international challenges need multilateral responses. As the President of the Italian Republic, Sergio Mattarella, recently stated, we have chosen multilateralism as we are aware of the interdependence of people's destinies in mutual respect to universally guaranteed peace, development and promotion of human rights. The fight to end hunger requires such a multilateral and integrated approach. We look forward to hearing your views on all these issues and on how to promote a stronger cooperation on food security in the Mediterranean region in line with the Matera Declaration and with the Food Coalition that we launched last year. Now, I'm pleased to leave the floor to the co-chair, starting with the Germany, President of the G7. Minister Svenja Schulze, first allow me to thank you for co-chairing this dialogue. As G7 presidency, Germany has shown a very strong commitment to tackling the food crisis. Italy fully supports the Global Alliance for Food Security, launched by the G7 leaders upon your initiative, and open to every country and organization sharing our concerns for the repercussions of the pandemic and the war in Ukraine on food security. Minister, we look forward to hearing to your insights. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this warm welcome. Host ministers, fellow co-chairs, Minister Bo Habib and Minister Crisi, Director General Q, estimated colleagues, I'm very pleased to be joining the Mediterranean Ministerial Dialogue as a co-chair, also in my function of representing the G7 presidency. This global crisis demands our global attention, and we are facing the worst food crisis in decades, with the most vulnerable and poorest people in Africa, the Middle East, and the Asian Pacific region being the ones who are the most affected. Russia's unjustifiable, unprovoked, and illegal war of aggression against Ukraine is disrupting agricultural production, supply chains, and trade, and has raised food and fertilizer prices to unprecedented levels, making an already dire food security situation much worse. And Germany is an active supporter of the United Nations Crisis Response Group, which covers a broad range of issues: food security, energy, and finance. And for the G7 presidency, Chancellor Scholz is one of the champions supporting these global response. And saving as many people as possible from starvation now means taking global and immediate action. And for this reason, together with the World Bank President David Malpass, I launched the Global Alliance on Food Security at the G7 Development Ministers meeting in May. The Alliance will actively support the United Nations Global Crisis Response Group by focusing on the looming food crisis and bringing together like-minded stakeholders. Through the Alliance, we will discuss political options to ease the situation, to coordinate support, and to provide foresight in order to better manage the phases of the anticipated crisis. On behalf of the G7 presidency, I call on the international community to join forces using and leveraging existing institutions and instruments to demonstrate solidarity and give support to those most affected. Besides giving immediate humanitarian assistance, Germany remains committed to a transformation of agri-food systems in the long and medium term. I therefore express my gratitude to Italy, a very committed actor and G7 partner for food security, for supporting the Global Alliance for Food Security, actively engaging in our first steering group meeting and developing the Mediterranean outreach in a complementary way. This Mediterranean dialogue is very timely. It is critically important, after all, to have direct talks with and among the Mediterranean countries, sending a political signal that they are not alone and working together to develop support. German development policy is providing a swift response. Our goal is to mitigate the consequences and create more crisis-resistant structures. The BMZ is providing support to many countries in the Mediterranean region through various agricultural and food security projects and has systematically increased funding for 2022. And then as a result, Germany will be mobilizing about 4 billion euros in total for food security in developing countries. And for example, we will provide direct cash transfers for the purchase of food in Tunisia and Egypt, among other countries. In Lebanon, local value chains have been strengthened to improve food security and will be further strengthened in the future. In the Palestinian territories, we are working through German development cooperation to increase water availability and promote more efficient water use for the rural population. In this connection, all of the 4 deliverables of collaboration proposed by you for the Mediterranean dialogue, sorry.
Please close the mic.
Yes. Thank you very much. So, all of the 4 deliverables of collaboration proposed by you for the Mediterranean dialogue have been very well received by the participants of the Global Alliance on Food Security, and I assure you that they match well with the agenda. With regard to the 4 deliverables, in very short, I took note of your initial proposal for food important financing facility and welcome the general idea. I do look forward to receive further suggestions on some open questions to make sure that this facility contributes to the current crisis as well as our long-term efforts regarding food security. Through German development cooperation, we are already doing work on aspects of food loss and waste, and better and sustainable use of fertilizers is already part of many of our programs, and we will be making further investments in this area. Last but not least, my ministry is a very strong donor for the International Agriculture Research System and has an explicit innovation agenda regarding the food and agricultural systems. So thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to close cooperation in future on food security. Thank you very much. Pass back to Maio.
Thank you very much, dear Minister, for your appreciated contribution. And I'm now pleased to pass the floor to Lebanon, represented by the Minister Bouhabib, also co-chairing this meeting. Lebanon, as a country highly affected by the recent crisis, has been very active at the multilateral level, notably by promoting the State of Global Food Insecurity resolution within the United Nations General Assembly. We intend to work together to mitigate further consequences of the current economic tensions on food markets and supply chains. Therefore, your contribution to the discussion as a co-chair will be of crucial importance. Minister, I give you the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. And Mr. Chair and other colleagues, thank you. I'd like to thank the Minister especially and his colleagues at the Foreign Ministry for organizing this meeting. It is, in fact, a very timely meeting. I'm very pleased to address this highly important Mediterranean Forum on food security today, especially that the whole world is struggling to secure the regular flow of basic food items. The food security crisis, a consequence of the war in Ukraine, among other things, affected most countries around the globe, especially the developing nations, including my country, Lebanon. As you all probably know, Lebanon is currently facing the most devastating economic crisis in its history. A crisis exacerbated, if not caused, by the presence of about 2 million displaced Syrians and Palestinian refugees, a number that makes up nearly half of its overall population. This crisis is exponentially aggravated today by shortages of all kinds and the global rise in prices of fuel and basic foodstuffs. Dear colleagues and friends, the Lebanese people, as well as other nations across the world, are facing this crisis as global attention has shifted to the Ukraine war, bringing my country to the brink of a financial, economic, social, and even security collapse. I'm glad that Italy took the initiative to have a Mediterranean conference on this issue. Mr. Chairman, I participated a couple of weeks ago in a food security conference in New York, and I heard speeches, but no concrete solutions to the ongoing crisis. We need to be pragmatic and help in solving the problem the world faces. First, the war in Ukraine must stop at any cost. The world cannot survive with wars, even if they are limited ones. Second, should concerned parties not act favorably to stop the war, they must be pressured to allow the safe export of grains and other commodities without any delay. The world cannot continue to be at the mercy of military crises in Europe or other regions of the world. Third, as Lebanon is burdened by more than 2 million refugees and displaced people, the international community is mainly helping by providing funds for consumption and very, very little help for investments in infrastructure, human resources, and production. That is, we react to world crisis by raising funds to keep refugees dependent on the international community instead of investing in them and help in making them independent. Fourth, and last, I am delighted that the UN Special Envoy to Syria, Mr. Geir Pedersen, is changing the course of dealing with this issue and coordinating with Syrian authorities to improve the living conditions in rural Syria and facilitate the return of displaced Syrians in Lebanon, Jordan, and Turkey. I would suggest that Mr. Pedersen also move to encourage Syrians to grow wheat and other cereals, for Syria's land is very fertile and can, if assisted properly, supply grain to neighboring countries. Needless to say, the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon can also meet most of the grain needs in my country with FAO and IFAD's technical and financial assistance. Finally, I would like again to thank Italy's Foreign Ministry for organizing this event and wish the participant utmost success in meeting the challenges the world is facing. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Habib, for your remarks and valuable inputs. I now introduce Turkey with Minister Vahit Kirishi, who is also co-chairing this initiative. Allow me to underscore Turkey's important role in facilitating dialogue between all parties, even these hours. As key partner within G20, we worked together last year for the adoption of the Matera Declaration on Food Security and Sustainable Food Systems, a milestone document on these issues and a point of reference for our joint efforts in dealing with the new threats to food security worldwide. Minister Kirishi, you have the floor.
Thank you. Dear ministers, representatives of international organizations, dear participants, it is my pleasure to address this honorable audience on the occasion of the Ministerial Mediterranean Dialogue on Food Security Crisis. First of all, please allow me to express my appreciation to the government of Italy for organizing this important event. We welcome the UN Secretary General's decision to establish a global crisis response group on food, energy, and the finance to respond to negative impacts of the crisis in Ukraine. I sincerely believe that Ministerial Mediterranean Dialogue will give momentum to the commitments of the Matera Declaration. We are ready to support the coalition to establish, to transform food system. The challenges like COVID-19 pandemic and the climate change are global obstacles for successful transformation of the agri-food systems. Also, studies show us that in order to meet the food needs of the growing world population, we have to increase food production by at least 60% compared to the current amount. And the latest UN reports set 4 urgent actions under global solidarity for more resilient food systems. However, conflict between Russia and Ukraine has worsened the situation, and the pressure on food value chains in Ukraine has led to an increase in food security challenges. In this regard, I would like to emphasize that transformation food system requires strong linkages between the key actors of food systems, not only at national level, but also at regional and international level. Therefore, this dialogue event is an opportunity for all of us in terms of creation of a strong cooperation platform. Dear ministers, in order to elevate the negative effects of the global food security crisis, Turkey declared a 6-point package to support the global food security call to action at the ministerial meeting held in May in New York. The package mainly includes providing the seed and technical expertise, national trade facilitation measures, food aid for refugees, and the funds and the facilities for programs to ensure food security. Besides, we are ready to coordinate our aid with our partners in the execution of pledges. And we reaffirm our dedication to the UN Food System Summit commitments and enhance our cooperation with the international organizations. Dear participants, in addition to this package, we support the UN's humanitarian operation from Turkey with the staff and the aid assistance. Also, we are working to ensure the safe passage of Ukrainian ships carrying grain. It is obvious that there is a linkage between the conflict and the food insecurity. Unfortunately, we have seen this linkage closely in Syria conflict. Turkey has conducted an open gate policy during Syria conflict, and with nearly 4 million Syrians, Turkey hosts the largest number of refugees. We have conducted many projects and programs to improve the food security for those people. In addition to our hard work in the field, we are also actively involved in the efforts to transform the food systems. UN Food Systems Summit is one of them, which we prepared our national pathway to deliver game-changing solution for transformation of food systems. Our national pathway is designed to contribute to SDGs, and our visions is always no one left behind. Besides, the two important regional initiatives, which are based on Black Sea and the Central Asia regions, with the lead of Turkey, we aim to identify key impediments to food security at national and regional levels. These two centers will have important roles in the implementation process of national pathway. Also, the Turkey, in collaboration with FAO, contributes to food security from Central Asia to Balkans, from Africa to Caucasus, and beyond through FAO-Turkey partnership programs. These programs focus on the thematic areas such as food security and nutrition, rural development, protection and management of natural resources, food safety, and forestry. Dear participants, in order to enhance our efforts to transform food systems, last year we launched a campaign named Save Your Food in cooperation with FAO. It is known that 1/3 of food production is lost or wasted each year. Therefore, reducing the food loss and the waste is one of the key objectives to strengthen agri-food chains and protect natural resources. We aim to combat against the food losses and the waste by raising public awareness both at national and international level. Also, we aim to create a role model by extending good practices on food losses and waste in other regions. Dear participants, before concluding my remarks, I would like to reiterate one point. If we want to achieve political stability, social welfare, and economic growth in the world, we have to ensure sustainable food security. Turkey will continue to work for eradicating global food insecurity, and we are supporters of the G20 Matera Declaration as well as the Food Systems Summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Crisi, for this interesting intervention and for sharing your views on how to move forward together. I now leave the floor. It's a great pleasure to give the floor to FAO Director General Chu Dong-ju. Director General, let me thank you for FAO's technical support in organizing this meeting and its follow-ups. Director Chu will give us a more precise outlook of the situation in the region and this vision of FAO's role in identifying the most appropriate lines to action. Director, you have the floor.
Your Excellencies, Luigi Di Maio, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Collaboration for Italy. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Rome. I'm so delighted to participate in today's event, and a special thanks to the Minister Di Maio for convening this important meeting together all the colleagues around this region. And to congratulate the government of Italy for his strong leadership in this difficult and challenging period. Today, in the aftermath of the pandemic, with the war in the Ukraine and the conflict in a number of countries across the world, especially in this region, Near East and North Africa, the global scenario is very complicated. FAO appreciates the commitment of Italy to the G20 Matera Declaration together with all the members of G20, which calls for the strengthened collective effort to achieve the SDG 2 target a year ago and end the old forms of malnutrition. In particular, for proposing the establishment of the Food Coalition, acknowledged in the G20 Matera Declaration and the G20 Roma Leaders Declaration. Mediterranean Sea region is surrounded by 22 countries in 3 different continents. For centuries, your ancestors shared this big lake for peace and prosperity. While they have access to the same sea, the countries are very diverse. They're diverse in size, in natural resources, in agricultural traditions, and in their potential to produce. Agriculture provides a livelihood for many people across this region. Farmers have always been coping with the climate crisis, but now the frequencies and the severity of shocks are increasing. So I'm so delighted now here today that all the chair and the co-chair use the term agro-food system. Without agriculture, without food system, without sustainable agro-food system, without food system. Agro-food systems are under pressure from long-term stresses. The increase in energy fertilizer prices is putting at risk the next harvest globally. And the farmers are facing high costs for fuel, feed, and other inputs. The lack of access to the key agricultural input represents a particular risk for countries where low natural soil fertility means that the chemical fertilizer is often essential for food production. While some countries in the region have strong agricultural sectors, many rely on the imports of the cereals to feed their population. Even prior to the war in Ukraine, most countries in the region had shown an increased food import trend to meet the domestic consumption needs. For reasons of geographic proximity, wheat and other cereals were often sourced from Ukraine and the Russian Federation. In March this year, the FAO food price index reached the all-time high of 106 points. Despite a slight decrease since then, in May, the FAO food price index remains over 22.8% higher than in May of 2021. As farmers in Ukraine and other parts of the world keep producing despite the challenge of the war and the conflict, disruption of the trade, and the supply chain of the agricultural inputs such as fertilizer and feed. It is logistically difficult to get their production to the international market. If the current situation continues, importing countries will have to resort to alternative supplies, but this will take time, and they will also have to pay high transportation costs. Dear colleagues, I'm so delighted now so many international engagement, solidarity happening after the war in Ukraine. Chaired by the UN Secretary General, in March, we established the Global Crisis Response Group. And also, we had several important meetings after that. And from the Security Council briefing, I was there together with Minister Maio and others. And also today, we continue to take more action plan to face the challenges together. Ownership, actions, and the deliverable are key. So for the short term, during the G20 Minister of Financial, FAO, based on our professional assessment, we propose have a food import facility initiative. But you, as a member, our international financial institution should take the ownership and with action plan for the emergency call. Second, ownership by the regions and the members. We should work together based on the professional, scientific analysis for the short term, mid-term, and the long term. As mentioned by the Minister Maio today, we also have here to discuss 4 critical areas of working planning, or priority areas, we should say, that will allow us to address the current challenges as well as to accelerate the transformation required. Nowadays, we have a common language now, transformation of agriculture systems for more efficiency, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable for better production, better nutrition, a better environment, a better life, leaving no one behind. So agriculture systems started with a better production. So we must invest in the countries most in need that are severely affected by the increase in food prices, especially hand-in-hand the initiative countries, which are the most vulnerable members in FAO, about 53 members, namely small island state, developing state, landlocked developing countries, and least developing countries, and some conflict countries, top 10 hotspots, like the Foreign Minister of Turkey. Because for me, it's easier to remember Turkey, because we translate from your name to Chinese, best your own original pronunciation, Turkey. And also the Greek, also Hila. We didn't say the Greek. So Turkey, and you mentioned that. Also, we had a lot of work together to support the hotspots conflict countries in this sub-region. And we must invest that more timely, more efficient, more effectively. Second, we must reduce the food loss and waste. That's a G20 declaration already get the fully consensus and a lot of action follow-up, not only in the developed nations, also developing countries. That's food loss and waste is the most potential area to improve. Currently, the high amount of the food loss and waste could feed around 1.26 billion people per year, and results in a huge negative impact on the environment. If we reduce the food loss and waste by 50%, there would be sufficient fruit and vegetables available in the food supply to cover the recommended amount of the 400 grams per person per day. The third, we need to ensure the better and more efficient use of available natural resources, especially in this sub-region. Now, water, resources, and fertilizer. We must use the technology to improve the efficiency of water and fertilizer together, and the transition to the green ammonia, and also some drought animal feed crops. By my knowledge, alfalfa will be very good. Drought tolerance, water efficiency, animal high protein content of animal feed crops. You can grow in one season and leave it about 5 to 10 years. So you can harvest with proper management of water and fertilizer, with a great potential for the Mediterranean countries. This work could be supported by the fast implementation of detailed soil mapping, and that will support the most vulnerable countries to use their fertilizers and water more efficiently. Last but not least, a key accelerator to all this point is the importance of innovation, science, and research. So I'm so delighted all the donors support that. And if we are going to have two thematic strategies next council, next week, on the climate change one and on science and innovation. So I strongly encourage all the members to support this two thematic strategy for our members to guide our guide our priorities. For instance, innovation in data availability can help to improve fertilizer and water use efficiency and their applications. Technological and social innovation can significantly reduce market failures and agriculture and improve market functioning. Excellency, food insecurity and high price can become a trigger for instability, particularly in context with sharp inequalities and fragile institutions. We must keep our global trade food system open and ensure that agri-food exports are not restricted or taxed. Market transformation and coordination, not only market transparency, and also coordination in this challenging time are crucial in times of uncertainty and help to stabilize the market and prices. FAO remains committed to enhance the global market transparency through the agricultural market information systems, which is essential to foster confidence in global market. I'm so much appreciate the G7 and the ministers of agriculture support that with their more efforts and input. We must continue to work together in an efficient, effective, and coherent manner to identify opportunities for producing more and better food. Sustainably increasing agricultural productivity and production is critical. We need to offer and apply the risk management tools that will allow all farmers, and big and small, to manage their production and supply chain risks. We must also help those who are most affected by the crisis by strengthening social protection and provide targeted assistance. FAO has been analyzing the global food insecurity situation and its major drivers to provide the required data for tailored and efficient action by the members and the international community. We must work together for better production better nutrition, a better environment, a better life for leaving no one behind. It's a high time to transform agri-food system for people, peace, and prosperity by working together in partnership. FAO is committed to continue work with all the countries in the Mediterranean Sea and the region, sub-region, and globally for a world free from hunger and malnutrition. Let's do our best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Director General. Thank you for your contribution. And I think that your contribution to this exercise is key. We very appreciate and count on your support on the way forward in line with the concerns and the needs that will emerge from this discussion. About the discussion